Hello, everybody.
Hello!
And welcome back to you, and welcome back to us, to another episode of Jack and Tom Save the World. Are you trying to do my intro?
No, I was just reminding you that you do need to say the title of the podcast.
I know, yes. Welcome back to Jack and Tom Save the World.
Oh, we said it again.
Yeah, I did, just to make sure that you are listening to the podcast.
Yes, this is the podcast.
Yep. Apologies for the 2-week break that we've had. It comes down to being busy, poor planning, and audio issues. So we did have an episode for you last week. Unfortunately, we couldn't release it because the audio was absolutely horrid.
Yeah.
But we
also just don't like you guys sometimes.
Hey, come on.
It's like, oh, do they really need to hear us talk for an hour? They can live without us.
Yeah,
for
they
a
do
little
actually.
while. Okay.
A lot of people have been messaging me asking why the podcast hasn't gone ahead for the last 2 weeks, and I've had to explain all of the issues and stuff we were having. But
Interesting.
I just wanted to address that first up, just for everyone listening and watching, because we've got the YouTube as well.
Well, I had a nice post on Facebook. I thought I explained it very well.
Yeah, your post was good. I think people would just...
everyone.
There are some of our closer friends that were just like, oh, is everything okay? And we're like, it's fine. We're just...
No, we're dead. We died.
Yeah,
we're dead and died.
Yeah, we're just dickheads.
Yeah.
And we didn't record anything, so...
No, we're just dickheads. We just forgot that we have a podcast that we wrote, and we get there on Saturday, we're like, oh shit. Anyway, we're back.
Yes, we are, but just letting you guys know as a forward thing as well. So the last episode for the year, it's not the next episode, but the episode after. So that will come out on the 19th of December. And then we are going to take a bit of a break over Christmas and New Year, but we will be back with brand new episodes in 2022 on the 9th of January starting off.
Look at that, Mr. Forward Thinker.
Yeah, so I will also say this at the end of the next podcast as well. I'll just keep reminding you guys, and I'll probably put a post up just so you guys know not to expect anything over Christmas, New Year, and we'll be back fresh and new in 2022. Which is weird to say. It's already 2022. I feel like 2021 just started.
2021 got a bit of 2020 syndrome.
Yeah.
Where COVID and that continuing, I don't know what it is. Some reason COVID makes the year go fast.
Well, that's the thing. Like 2020 just flew past, and then we went, 2021. You know,
still one of the worst years of.
It is. It's one of the worst years for us, like for Australia as well. Yeah. With the COVID response and stuff like that. I think a lot of us were under the impression. I don't know if you were under this impression, but we kind of thought that 2020 was going to be that year that was like, oh, okay, well, COVID's around, this is a bit shit. But we started kind of coming out of it towards the end, and
sure, but at the end of 2020, that's when Sydney went into lockdown.
Yeah, but that was the thing, like towards the end of 2020, it kind of seemed like there was some light at the end of the tunnel, and we kind of had that. I don't care what you think.
As in, like, this tunnel is really long. There is no light. I can't see the light out of the tunnel, which we're going to talk about because...
Yeah, I mean, you are a pessimist, but...
I'm not a pessimist.
I
just think the world sucks, all right?
So you're a pessimist?
No.
You're not able to find joy and simple happiness in the world.
Find simple happiness.
How? How do you find simple happiness?
In food, in my friendship with you occasionally.
You find happiness in this?
Yeah, sometimes.
I thought we were just like a married couple that hates each other.
Movies, video games, alcohol, the excessive amount of cocaine we've both started snorting.
Hey! We weren't meant to talk about
the obsessive amount of heroin we've started shooting up on.
Can you stop outing me to everyone on the internet?
The obsessive amount of weed we're smoking. We're not doing
just
any
for
of those
legal
things.
reasons. That's a complete joke.
We're not, but I find happiness in those things.
Yeah, you find happiness in drugs and alcohol and being reclusive.
Yes.
Yep.
Anyway.
Cool. But no, there were. I thought that towards the end of 2020 there would be some light. We would maybe be able to see an ease in restrictions, and we kind of did.
We kind of did for the first couple months.
2021 rolled around, and it was kind of the same. It's kind of the same scenario. Like, we started off the year okay, then we got really, really shit towards the middle of the year. And then we started to, even as early as, last month, we started to see, we hadn't had any COVID cases in South Australia for quite a few weeks and things like that. And then the borders opened.
Yep.
And now our state has, I think we're up to 31 active cases as of the time of recording. Mm-hmm. It could have actually changed because I looked at that this morning. Mm-hmm. So it depends if the stats came out or not. But that's kind of happened. So there's no plans at the moment, as Stephen Marshall has said, to close the borders again. But as I read just before recording this, Western Australia, Northern Territory, and I think New South Wales,
Queensland.
Oh no, Queensland have all pretty much shut their borders to us.
The Labor-led states, except for Melbourne, Victoria.
Yeah. So there's border restrictions for those 2 states and 1 territory at the moment. And the Adelaide area has been declared a COVID hotspot.
So,
which is really weird for, especially for Queensland to go, you're a hotspot. And I'm like, you've been a hotspot for like 5 months.
No, you've actually been able to go to and from Queensland pretty easily.
Yeah, still. They were one of the, in one of the top 3 worst contenders for COVID though.
Oh,
it's all the eastern states have just.
I actually think Queensland's handled it pretty well and have never gone ridiculous.
Well, they never went bunter like Melbourne or Victoria.
But this whole situation, okay, I've said on this podcast that I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not on the side of the people that endlessly complain about COVID. But this is why, as I said before, I don't see light at the end of the tunnel, because it's become increasingly clear that the Australian government and the state governments basically have no idea how to reopen this country at all. And they can talk endlessly while they're in lockdown. It's like, if we get to this vaccination target, we'll reopen, everything will go back to normal, no borders, blah, 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 blah. We can live with the virus. But then, as South Australia is experiencing, the whole point was we get to 80% double vaxxed over 16, which we've blown past. We're now at 90% first dose over 12. Yeah. Which is 70%, and I think we reached 70% of the total population of South Australia being vaccinated. Of course, if you're under the age of 12, you currently cannot get vaccinated. Yeah. So we're at 70% of the state is vaccinated, which is actually really far and ahead.
It's great.
That's beating now Victoria and New South Wales. Because I think we've had a good turnout of over 12s getting vaccinated, 12 to 16s actually getting vaccinated in this state. But then it's like, okay, we hit 80% double vaxxed over 16. We're gonna roll back a few COVID restrictions. We're gonna allow a few more people into places, have a bit more free movement. We're gonna open up the borders, right? And then COVID comes back, which was the plan. Yeah. We knew that was going to happen. That was not the whole point, but that was part of the point. Was, we're COVID free. We've done a good job managing it, but we need the borders to be open so that, we're a country again. We're not little separatist states. Yeah. And we can function together as we did before. Yeah. And then COVID comes back. And of course, the Marshall government is like, well, we've smashed our vaccination target. We're now almost at 100%. Like, we're getting so close to 100% of the eligible population getting vaccinated. Yeah. But then COVID comes back, and then the media turns on the Marshall government again, pushing the people again to go, oh, now we need to close the border again. This is why I can't see the light to the end of the tunnel. We are in a fixed loop because the government is at war with itself, it's at war with the people, and it's at war with the media.
Yep.
They can't do anything right. And I fear that no matter what we do, we are constantly going to go in that loop. We're going to go, oh, borders are open. Oh, COVID's come back, borders are closed. 3 months later, oh, borders are 2 weeks later, borders are closed. And we're just going to keep going around and around and around because the government can't do what should be done.
Yeah.
Which is keep the borders open. We're not going to get rid of COVID. I don't know why people think... We've said on the show that the vaccine isn't perfect. Especially against variants of COVID, as it was designed for the original beta strain of COVID. Or was it the alpha strain? I can't remember.
I think it was alpha when they started the development of it. We
then came with Delta. Delta was more advanced. Vaccines had an effect of you not getting it, but with Delta, it was mainly about reducing your symptoms and keeping you out of hospital when it came to Delta. And now we've got Omicron. Oh my god. The bloody Omicron variant, which has reduced symptoms anyway, and then is really contagious in COVID. And the vaccine, again, appears to still keep your symptoms even lower and keep you out of hospital. That was the whole point.
Yeah.
Is if we get everybody vaccinated, we can stop death. We can stop the long-term effects, which no one brings up. Everyone's always like in these freedom rallies that we're going to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, it's a 99.7 survival rate. And we've said before that is simply, one, not true. It's closer to 2% as a global death rate.
Yep.
And you've got all of the long-term symptoms that you suffer with. And I'm like, I just sit here and I wake up every morning and then the media is like, oh, this random epidemiologist we found on Facebook is telling SA to close its borders. And I'm like, what do you want state governments to do, as we're seeing other state governments to do? They close their borders, they become little separatists, they have to rely entirely on the state economy to keep it running because we live in capitalism. And then those same states complain because they don't have the domestic and international travel that this country actually needs to survive.
Yeah.
So then you open the borders again to the other states, COVID comes back. You're supposed to just close the border again. We're never going to reopen, Tom, if we keep going along with that mentality.
Yeah, I think the one thing that bothers me, and I completely agree with you. I think that there's definitely more than one flaw in this system. You know, with all of the state governments and things like that. The one thing I really want to touch on, and which is pissing me off the most, is that you've kind of touched on it a little bit, but it's the media. Yes. Because the media will sit there and go, right, what's the top story today?
Yes.
Oh, COVID.
COVID.
It's always, you watch 7 News, watch 9 News, 10 News, whatever, you go on Facebook, anything, it's always the COVID stats. Always start off with it. But what happens as well is that you find, and there's not particularly the mainstream media, but, well, no, sorry, it is the mainstream media. What you'll find is that pretty much what some of the people in this state and what the government in these states are doing is going, the borders are shut.
Yeah.
Well, this is really bad.
Yeah.
We can't we can't keep this up. The economy's not going to, it's not going to survive. We need to open the borders back up. And, you see so many people on Facebook as well, and this is what annoys me the most, is that people will sit there and go, right, we're the only state that doesn't allow dancing. And I've seen it from so many people. This state does not allow dancing in pubs.
No, big whoop.
And you can't, you still can't stand up and drink and blah, 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 and
big whoop.
all of that shit.
Just do it anyway. As long as a cop or an SA health worker doesn't see you, no one gives a shit.
But that's not really the right message to send.
Tom, this is COVID.
Yeah,
Do you think COVID gives a shit?
No, COVID doesn't give a shit.
That's what I mean. COVID doesn't give a shit.
I know, but
so if
you're not actually letting me finish.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So shut up and let me talk.
You rat bastard.
No, but what happens is that people complain. They will complain to no end.
Oh, yeah, endless.
About all of this. And the media jumps on the bandwagon and goes, yeah, the borders shouldn't be closed. They should be open.
The Marshall government sucks.
We've been COVID-free for 2 months. Like, why aren't the borders open? You open up the borders, we've got 31 active cases in this state with community transmission.
All community transmission. Oh, no, that's not true.
Some of them are...
No, they came from interstate.
But it's like we've got clusters around the city now and in the outsides of the city of community transmission. And everyone goes... Well, why the fuck did you open the borders up? That was fucking stupid. And it's like, what do you want?
The media has done that.
Yeah. But I'm like, but that's the media and that's also the people because the people...
That blindly follow the media.
Yeah, but the people blindly follow the media. But then it's also like, with the guys with the freedom rallies. I've seen people who actually went to the freedom rallies complaining that now we've got COVID back.
See...
And I'm like... You are literally the problem.
Yeah, you were literally at a rally saying, we want the state to be open.
We want the state to be open. We don't want
masks. We want to be able to do whatever we want, wherever we want.
We don't want to get vaccinated.
We don't want to get vaccinated. Freedom, 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 right? You're still free in this state. I think we're pretty free. Even with, the general health concern of COVID, you can kind of do whatever you want still.
Yeah.
Just got to wear a mask.
Yeah, exactly.
The government, I don't want to say give in, because they're not giving in. They are there to help run the state. They make that decision. And now somehow you flipped on a dime. And you're now like, oh, no, now we need to close. Now the border should be closed. And I sit there and I go, what? I actually did that on Reddit. I actually saw someone that I'd seen in the Adelaide subreddit before who was complaining that we'd been COVID-free for so long that now we should be able to travel.
Yeah.
And they showed up again and they're like, oh, we opened too early. And I commented. I was like... The fuck?
The fuck are you talking about?
I was just like, I was having a conversation with you like fucking 2 weeks ago, and you were like, so like, the Marshall government needs to get moving. We don't have COVID. We don't need all these restrictions anymore. We get a cluster back, and you want to close the border, and it's like, well, yeah, I don't want COVID, and I'm like, COVID's not going any. Is it this weird function that people think we're actually going to get rid of COVID?
Yeah. I think what...
I don't get it.
I think what happened is, especially in the early days of COVID, like, even going back to 2019, when COVID first showed up on the scene, but it was one of those things that we'd heard about, like Ebola, for example. There was an Ebola breakout or something in West Africa like quite a few years ago, and everyone was like, oh shit, okay, Ebola's bad, it's not going to come here though, it's not going to happen. And Ebola, I don't actually think
Ebola only had 2 cases ever in the United States, and I think there were a few confirmed cases in Europe. Otherwise they kept a tight lid on it in Africa.
But that's the thing, like, everyone got freaked out by Ebola because they saw what Ebola could do to you.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, shit, I really don't want to...
That's a 30 to 40% death rate.
You're like, shit, I don't want to catch Ebola. I really don't. COVID shows up on the scene. It's the same story. Yeah. We all looked at it. I know I looked at it, and you probably looked at it, and we bought... And at least I did. And I went, oh, well, it's over in China. That's not going to come here. It's not a problem. Because that's what these viruses do. Like, the only thing that we've really ever had here is like the flu and smallpox.
I think we did have smallpox outbreaks. We had pretty bad polio outbreaks.
Yeah.
We've had pretty bad... We've even had malaria scares... Oh, not malaria. Measles scares. Yeah. I don't think... I'd have to talk to my parents if, like, rubella or any of the other big ones were ever a problem. But, you know, usually you're floating around with, you know, the flu and the common cold, which can sometimes turn into, like, a respiratory issue.
Yeah.
Like, plenty of people get pneumonia these days.
Yeah.
From things like the flu.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, it's one of those things that when it first comes out, like... Nobody's jumping out of their skin being like, oh shit, this is going to change.
Yeah, well, they should have.
Yeah, because nobody, like, I don't think anyone in this country, I mean, if I'm probably wrong, but I don't think anybody in this country back in November of 2019 thought that this virus was going to change the way that we lived.
No, probably not.
And the thing is, this will change the way we live for quite a long time, if not the rest of our lifetimes.
Oh yeah,
because people will get sick. People do get COVID. People have got COVID, and it's just the more people that say that COVID doesn't exist and it's a government conspiracy and
that's
things
all
like
bullshit.
that. That is bullshit. But that's bullshit. But it's dangerous because the thing is, whether you like it or not. Whether it's a 2% death rate or not, COVID is still dangerous.
I think you're talking about more the crowd that says it's not dangerous. COVID isn't dangerous. It's just the flu. Not the people that say it's not real. They're the conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
I then put the people that say, oh, it's not dangerous as the anecdotal daisy field hippie motherfuckers that believe that about every virus. You know, the people that are like, oh, it's better for my kid to get measles than give them the MMR vaccine.
Honestly, I put them in the same box.
No, I don't. Because...
Well, I do. Because if you believe COVID's not real, fuck you. If you believe COVID's not dangerous, fuck you too.
Well, what?
Because it's not...
But they're vastly different approaches.
The thing is, what every motherfucker has to realise is that this shit is not a joke.
No.
COVID's not a joke.
I've had to explain that to people that have thought that COVID wasn't a big deal. And I've explained it to them and I've gone through the stats.
Yeah, but I'm not telling you. I'm telling everyone.
I'm saying I have talked with people that went, oh, COVID isn't a big deal. It's not that dangerous. 2% death rate or fucking 0.03% death rate. And I've explained it to them. They haven't come completely around, but they've understood. A lot of them have understood that their anecdotal... rosy lives don't reflect the reality of this virus.
Yeah.
I have talked to people only on the internet is where you find the people that are like COVID's 100% fake. It's a government conspiracy. They cannot be convinced because they're internet trolls, 4chan meme lords. So I do not put them in the same area. Just like I don't now put COVID vaccine hesitant people and anti-vaxxers, I don't put them in the same crowd because they're not.
No, but vaccine hesitant doesn't... It's that's the thing. Vaccine hesitant is not the same as anti-vax.
Yes.
Anti-vax is that
COVID denier doesn't believe it's real, and COVID, or maybe it's not that dangerous, are not the same to me. Because one can be convinced, sort of, and one will not be convinced. Just like anti-vaxxers and COVID hesitant people.
Or vaccine hesitant.
Vaccine hesitant people.
Because that's the thing. I think what happens is that people that don't believe in COVID, like COVID's not God. It's not something that you believe in or you don't. It's real. It's happening. Deal with it.
You can see it through a microscope.
You can see it through a microscope. You can see people with COVID. You can see the long term. People have long COVID. Yep. Long term effects of COVID.
Long COVID.
So like, I don't understand how people still think that it's a government conspiracy and it's not real.
Oh, well, that's just...
And it just it pisses me off.
You're never going to work that out unless you go to, I don't know, uni and study philosophy and start to break down why people believe in conspiracy theories, because it's just the way that...
Wouldn't it be psychology?
Oh, there's probably a psychological component, but if you want to look at the philosophical reason as to why people latch on, that's what I would go and study. Or sociology, that would actually cover it as well.
Sociology is probably... I don't think...
Psychology is about understanding the brain.
Yeah.
And diagnosing mental issues and treating them through therapy. That's psychology. That's psychology. If you just want to understand the wonders of the universe and the internet, go with sociology or philosophy.
Or Reddit.
Or Reddit. I don't know. I don't want to sound like overly negative and have people listen to the podcast and go, "Oh, this guy's just a gloomy guts." And Tom,
you are, but okay.
I'm not a gloomy guts. All right. I loved Eternals.
Yeah, gloomy guts. I didn't get my way. I'm gonna fly into the sun. Just fucking die. That's it. That's the plot of Eternals.
It's funny because it's actually so true. That's what he did. I'm going to help you, but it wasn't what I wanted to do, so I'm just going to go kill myself.
Grumpy son.
No, most people wouldn't usually have that train of thought, as it's a bit of a weird train of thought.
Yeah. Sorry, you were saying before.
No, but I liked it. It's like if you got like your own house and I was just having a sleepover because I got really drunk. So someone like breaks in, but I'm also friends with the person who breaks in. But I eventually make up my mind during your confrontation with this person that, no, I'm going to help Tom. This is Tom's house. I've got to protect Tom's house. And I end up killing the intruder through self-defense for the both of us. But I've also killed my other friend, so I just then off myself. That's what Icarus did in Eternals.
See, I think the funny thing about that is that if someone is stealing something from my house,
yes,
I don't think you should be friends with them.
What if it was hard times, Tom? What if they were just down on their luck?
What are they, fucking Paramore?
Hard times.
And
Everyone don't wanna do the more to do the door. Hard times.
Please don't get us copyrighted.
Yeah, okay.
Don't get us
Anyway,
copyrighted. Sorry, you didn't want to be a gloomy guts, and you didn't want people to think I was a what?
The enabler.
Oh, the enabler of you being grumpy.
Yeah. I just want to say to everyone, it's this weird position, and I don't think there's a right position. There's not a right or a wrong way that we have to adjust to live with COVID. But we should all have our thinking caps on and realize that we're all human. I'm getting philosophical.
Here we go.
So I'm going to stop before I start talking about the moons and the stars.
We're all human and we all have to work together as a collective to make our world a better place.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. So
No,
I don't think going, oh, boo Stephen Marshall, you're doing a shit job. He is, but don't do that. Don't attack other people because they believe the border should be closed. Don't attack other people because they believe the border should stay open. Just like we have said in the past, don't abuse people for wanting you to wear a mask. Just like we should have said in that same episode, don't abuse people that don't want to wear a mask unless they're actually putting people at risk, like in a hospital. Like, that's where you should wear a mask. And if you're not going to wear a mask, kick out the door.
I don't know. I think if you're asked to wear a mask in a public setting, you should just comply with it and do it.
Oh, yeah, just comply, Tom. Just comply. Just comply. When the government comes to your door to rape you, just comply.
That's not what I'm saying.
Just comply.
Fucking hell. I'm just saying, like, it's a public health crisis. We all need to do our part. If you're not going to do your part, then stay at home.
That's what
We're just doing your part.
But just don't then abuse that person, is all I was saying. The person that's asking you to wear a mask, don't abuse that person. To the people that don't want to wear a mask.
But it
sucks.
But if someone turns around Like, so say you were in a shopping centre and you were wearing a mask.
Yes.
And I wasn't wearing a mask.
Yes.
Now, if you came up to me and said, hey, mate, can you please put a mask on? Yeah. And I went, fuck you, then that would be wrong of me.
Yes.
But if I wasn't wearing a mask and you were, and you came up to me and went, oi, dickhead, wear a fucking mask, that would be wrong on you.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So it got, but I'm just putting it in a way
I'm just saying, don't be a dick.
Yeah, I'm just putting it in a way that everyone understands.
Oh, okay.
Like, if you don't want to wear a mask in a shopping centre, that's fine. Just go home to your mum's basement and jerk off a little bit. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You don't have to wear a mask. You just stay in your home and eat your TV dinners that you heat up in the microwave.
Wow.
And play with your pillow pets.
It's a pillow. It's a pet.
It's a pillow pet. Sponsor us.
How do I remember that?
I don't know. It unlocked a memory in me too.
Unlocked the memory. I've
had a gutful. I've had a gutful.
I'm a gloomy guts, and my guts are full of gloom now. Gloom.
Jack's a gloomy guts, and I've had a gutful.
I just don't know, Tom. I don't know. I feel like people, they want. I every time I go like on Facebook, for example, and I've like turned notifications off on Facebook, and I have for like a year and a half, so I only go on there.
So that's why when I tag you in memes, you don't get them.
Yes,
rude.
I only see things on Facebook when I actively go on Facebook, and it feels like we're now at this point in the generation where people want to go back to COVID normal, like a hybrid COVID normal, and what it was, which is why I think. Like, the media's like, oh, we should close the border because we don't want COVID. And South Australia is really great without the eastern states. And then all the boomers are like, oh, yeah, it was good. It was good. And that's all I feel like. We're just going to be stuck in that loop for so long.
We'll loop around. We'll open and close, open and close, open and close.
And we don't want that.
No, we want to stay. We want to stay open.
But
that's what we want.
Do you accept in that situation that we're never going to get rid of COVID?
Yes.
Because that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. It's like, oh, they want the borders open because we don't have COVID. We don't have COVID, so the borders can open. We can go wherever we want.
But everybody else has COVID.
But
that's the thing. Like,
they weren't thinking about that. And this isn't the government. The government perfectly knew that there was COVID in.
COVID was going to come back.
But all the people that were like, oh, the borders should go open. We don't have COVID. And then the borders open, and then people bring COVID into the state. And it's like, oh, no, now we should close the borders.
No. I think what needs to happen is... And look, honestly, I'm probably going to say this, and probably in a few days' time... We're going to have Stephen Marshall in a press conference going, the borders are now closed. And I'll be like, what the fuck? But like, I don't know.
I don't actually think so, because in that situation, I think for the only reason that Stephen Marshall, from what I've learned about him, will close the borders is if more people keep coming over with infections. So if we can't control... If they can't control, the other states can't control the people coming in with COVID, that's the only reason he'll close the border. At the moment, the amount of people that have come into the state with COVID is negligible to the amount of people that have actually started coming back into the state since the border opened.
Yeah.
It's a tiny amount. The problem was some troublesome situations. Mm-hmm. Should we just leave it at that?
Yep.
Some troublesome situations.
Troublesome situations.
That have led to some clusters.
Yeah.
And that's not on the other states. I think we both agree that that was some poor decision making by
people in this state.
By people in this state.
Yeah. And
not by interstate peoples.
No. And that's the thing. Because the thing is, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a politician, I'm not an epidemiologist. I don't know.
He's just a dickhead.
Yeah, I'm just a dickhead. But I can't sit here and say, well, this is the roadmap out of COVID, because the thing is, people have done that.
Yeah.
The government did. SA Health worked with the state government.
Yeah, do you know how many roadmaps we've seen?
A lot.
A lot.
A fuckload.
We've seen so many roadmaps.
And that's the thing, like, they have these things. So I'm not going to sit here and go, well, this is what we should do instead. Because neither of us have the qualifications required to actually place that opinion. But the one thing we do need to do is we just need to be considerate. We need to be considerate and we need to be compassionate.
And we need to stop just speaking in absolutes.
Yeah.
Because they're not the solution. They just create more problems. The same people that comment on every Facebook post about Stephen Marshall being, oh, we opened the borders too early. It's like, okay, we closed the borders. And it's like, oh, well, now my son can't come from Melbourne for Christmas. And it's like, well, you wanted the borders closed. What do you bloody want? What do you want?
See, the one thing I would say is that maybe if they'd opened a little bit closer to Christmas, but that's the only thing that I would...
But it still would have happened again. That was the whole point.
Yeah, I know.
The borders were open.
I know, it still would have happened. I know.
And with Christmas, we're probably going to have more clusters and more people are going to get COVID. But that's life now.
Do you reckon we'll have a lockdown Christmas?
No, because we don't need lockdowns with the vaccinated population we've got. We just need specific quarantine for specific people. I don't agree with hotel quarantine still being a thing, but you just, if you're sick, it's like anything else. You just stay at home.
Do you realise that hotel quarantine, though, is actually one of the best solutions to get out of this?
No, it's really not.
Why?
What's the difference between quarantining a hotel and quarantining in your home?
Can't leave.
You can't. You can monitor people in their homes.
You can monitor people in their homes, but it's a lot easier to do it from a hotel.
That is a complete no. Do you know how many COVID leaks we've had out of hotels compared to home quarantine?
They don't have numbers for home quarantine.
Exactly, because it hasn't happened.
No, they don't have numbers because they can't monitor it properly.
They can monitor it. You put a ankle monitor on them, and they can stay at home and do what they want.
Okay, yeah, sure. Let's have prisoners in their own home.
Well, they're prisoners in a hotel.
Yeah, I know, but fucking Jesus Christ.
You can monitor people in your own home, as we have right now. If you're just a close contact, you get to quarantine in home for 7 days.
And there is nothing to stop people from walking out their front door and going and speaking to their neighbours or going down the shops or anything like that.
Sure.
If you're infected with COVID, that's the same thing. You go to a hotel, I understand hotel quarantine isn't great. It's not something that people want. But if that's the only way to keep...
It's not the only way. As we've consecutively seen with hotel quarantine, it's an absolute shit show with how COVID can spread so easily.
Do you know why? Because they can monitor that and they can bring us the numbers. I cannot see any positive or negative numbers on the amount of COVID leaks from home quarantine because there are none. Because there's no numbers, there's no monitoring that can actively be done at that time.
I just don't agree with quarantining anymore with the vaccination rate that we have.
But it's gonna run. It's the. Do you understand what you just said? What if there are immune compromised people that cannot get vaccinated? There are some people that are not able to get vaccinated because of health concerns. They get COVID, they die. That's why quarantine is a thing. I understand it's inconvenient.
This goes back to my original loop.
But I understand it's inconvenient for people to quarantine in a hotel or quarantine at home. But I would rather have, if I got COVID, I'd rather have a 14-day quarantine wherever.
So this
rather than people die.
So hotel quarantine goes into my endless loop argument of closing the borders, hotel quarantine. This is all this endless loop stuff that I'm talking about. So every time there's a cluster, everyone has to go into hotel quarantine. Close the borders, hotel quarantine. COVID goes away. Open the borders, clusters, hotel quarantine, close the borders. COVID free. Open the border, COVID cluster. We just keep doing that for the rest of our lives?
No.
Do you really want to do that?
No.
Because that's what we're looking at.
So what do you suggest in that regard then? Do you suggest that...
Well, I'm slowly coming around that when we reach 90% of each state's population being double vaxxed, which is the which is a good Oh shit! I had the word.
You got it. You've got it.
And then it's got, for most other vaccinations against deadly diseases that we've done, 90% of the total population of an area, so if you want to just say that's all of Australia, is what you need for herd immunity. We got rid of polio, we got rid of measles, we got rid of rubella through herd immunity.
Yeah.
Yes, there will always be immunocompromised people, which is why I supported lockdowns with older people and immune-compromised people. Lockdowns, quarantine, all this stuff, because these people can't protect themselves. When we reach the threshold, that was the word I was looking for herd immunity, we can go back to normal and just have COVID be that piece of shit that we deal with when it comes along for those individual people. I don't want to be stuck in this loop for the rest of our lives.
So you would rather let COVID run rampant?
It has to at some point, Tom. What do? We do the borders and hotel quarantine loop for the rest of our lives?
No, we're not going to do that forever, but come on.
We either have COVID out in the open, and if you catch it, you stay at home like you would any other sickness, and you don't spread it. And then that's it. Yeah, it's just a sickness.
That's working.
What do you mean?
Look how well it's worked for the flu and the common cold and stuff like that. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, it happens for some people.
People get the flu. Majority of people...
I haven't had the flu in 3 years.
Yeah, me neither. People get the flu. People get a cold.
I've had colds.
They go. Like, they go out. They go to the shops. They go to their friends' places. They do all of this shit. And they spread it around. And that's why
in that situation, I would strongly wish... It probably wouldn't happen, but in the case of COVID, I think, like, if we want to keep it isolated, not quarantine, but keep it isolated, it should be paid sick leave for anybody that gets COVID. But not have constant enforcement of masks, because I don't like wearing masks. I want to go back to not having to wear a mask.
I don't think anyone likes wearing masks, but it's just
being able to dance, uncapped... Still social distancing. We should be social distancing anyway because we're all dirty humans. Being able to travel wherever we want, have a vaccine for it. Done. That's where we should be. That's where we've ended up with other diseases. We've gone past that where we don't even vaccinate kids for certain diseases anymore because we don't need to. We eradicated them. And if we had done all of this at the beginning of the year, instead of ScoMo floundering and fucking up the vaccine thing, Delta may never have been a big problem in this country. And we could have done that normally. And we could have just vaccinated against Alpha or Beta and gone in that perfect loop again. If the world had done it, not just ScoMo, but ScoMo was a big problem with that rollout.
It's just not the way the world works.
It can, though.
It can, but it's not.
So you're not siding, but you're accepting that the quarantine border closures is just the way that the world is going to have to work from now on?
I'm look, the thing is, if you can sit there and go, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this, we can do that, no one's going to fucking listen. No one's going to listen. I'm going to be the gloomy guts here. Nobody gives a fuck about what the right way out is. Everyone just goes, because we're coming around to an election time, especially with politicians. True. Everyone wants to be on the side of the public. I'll give you a hot tip about elections as well. Politicians don't give a fuck about you. Never have, never will. So... It's just the way the world works. The only reason that everyone is trying so hard at the moment is because an election's coming up.
That's true.
That's it. As soon as this election passes, we'll get a new government, and
maybe.
We may get a new government, and nothing will change. Nothing will change.
On the surface, no, because we actually need to have on this podcast the differences between Labor and Liberal, because there are economic differences and there are social differences between the two parties.
But I'm talking specifically about COVID.
In terms of direction, which COVID falls under, like the government being direct in its control, which COVID falls under.
Yep.
there's not a massive amount of difference.
There won't be any difference.
Such as, like, whenever Labour or Liberal comes into power, does the cops suddenly have a different interaction with the public? No, they always stay the same. Same with the federal government. The AFP never stops being the AFP under Labour or Liberal. They have the same amount of power and the same amount of jurisdiction as they always do. So, continue.
Yeah, I think that's just the thing that, you know, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, you know, like the Liberals are in power at the moment in this state. Oh, well, you know, if Labor was in power, it would have been different. No, it wouldn't have.
Not at all.
Both Liberal and Labor suck ass.
Nah, Labour doesn't suck ass. There's a bit of shit that they do because it's politics, but I don't think they suck. I'm just a Labour whore, but that's just
me. I know you're a Labour whore, but like I can say strongly that Labour is the lesser of two evils.
Sure, if that gets you to vote for them.
I'm not saying who I'm voting for.
No, that's fair enough. I'm voting Labour.
I don't feel the need.
And I hope that everyone listening votes Labour too.
But, you know, vote for whoever you want because
vote Labour.
It's your choice.
No, vote Labour. If you want to fix this country, vote Labour.
Don't be a
No, I'm not being a This is based on all of the evidence that I have collected over my long period of being invested in politics. If you want to fix what is currently wrong with this country, vote Labour. You
realise that Labour's going to form new problems, so they might fix the old ones, but they'll form new ones. Every government will. There's no perfect government that is going to be able to fix this country for what it is. It's not a complete shithole.
By fix, I'm talking in terms of support of the country. At the moment, we are not funding the right level of shit.
No.
Labour starts from the bottom and works their way up. Liberals start at the top and work their way down, which doesn't work. Trickle down never works.
Yeah.
Yes, Labour could create new problems. They thought that the only way to solve climate change was bring in a carbon tax, which was fine. I was a kid. I had no comment. I was 12. It was a fair idea, but of course the public hated it because it made bananas 50 cents more expensive. Oh no! Julia Gillard made bananas more expensive, so they kicked her out. Anyway, I will always say vote Labour.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you to vote Labour. I'm just saying, if you want to fix the country, vote Labour. See what I did there? I contradicted myself as a joke. Ha ha! Mr. Gloomy Guts.
So we're not going to get in the habit of telling you who to vote for, because that's actually a really bad way to be.
No, I am.
Especially on the internet.
No, I'm gonna say it.
Yeah, we're gonna finish up now. That's all we have time for. But
I enjoyed it. I need to find someone that I can. Oh, Israel.
Yeah, maybe
we'll get Israel back.
No, you know what? That's what you guys can do. As soon as we break on the 19th,
yeah.
You and Israel can do the 2 weeks after that, while I take a long needed break from this.
No, Israel and I will start our own podcast, Left versus Right. Even though he's a lefty that doesn't understand that he's actually a lefty.
We can talk to him about it later. But yeah, as always, guys, if you have any topics, questions, or anything that you want, if you want to be a guest, if you want to come on, do that. Message us at Jack and Tom Save the World podcast on both Facebook and Instagram, and we'll be back next Sunday for another fun-filled episode. But until then,
oh yeah, fun-filled with the two gloomy guts.
But until then, have a good week, and we'll see you next week.
See ya.